Hey, everybody, welcome back from a hiatus to Cinema A to B. This will mark the start of our season of sci-fi, and we're kicking it off with an oldie but a goodie. This is 2001: A Space Odyssey by the late great Stanley Kubrick. So, Alec, kick the discussion off on this, our first entry on the sci-fi. And to recap, there are films we've already discussed, science fiction classics. And people just have to go back through the back catalog if they don't see what that is.
Specific ones, like, we've talked Interstellar, we've talked Terminators. I mean, there's plenty. We're big fans of sci-fi. We decided to try something new and, pick this season of Cinema A to B, which, again, why do we have seasons if we don't tell anyone about it? But this will be a season of just sci-fi films. So my dad's favorite, which is not true at all. He hates sci-fi films, but that's beside the point. So I may actually have to turn in my cinephile core or something. So, in all truthfulness, I had not fully watched 2001 until like 3 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. And I'd seen all the big parts, I'd come in or I'd been on the TV or whatever. I just had never sat down and watched it front to back. Like it'd been, I saw a little bit of the, the beginning and the ape scenes, and then a lot of the HAL 9000 stuff and kind of knew like the ending, but never had seen it all the way through. And I think it was like 3 or 4 years, Laura was out of town and I was just like, you know what? And I said, I'm going to watch this. And I went back and watched a bunch of movies and kind of I had bypassed and hadn't, knew a lot about, had seen things, had talked about, like knew all the stuff about it, but had never actually visually saw it. And I'm going to tell you, and I've just rewatched it again, this is the problem of going back. This film suffers from the Seinfeld isn't funny trope, which is this film is monumental in sci-fi films going forward. There's so much that this did that is now what is normal, what is everyone mimics this film. And so going back, I mean, that's the kind of the joke is that if you go back and watch Seinfeld now, having never watched it, you don't think it's funny because everything they're doing in Seinfeld has been redone and rehashed by sitcoms to come and go. So you're just like, oh, well, I've seen this before. This is not funny. But at the time, they were the first ones to do it. And so like, this is the same thing of like, I've seen Star Wars too many times, before this. I saw Star Trek. I mean, I saw Stargate. Like all of the sci-fi that's out there, I saw before this. And there's so much that those take that when I see it, I'm like, yes, like this is a little slow. It's a little boring. Like what's going on? Like, I mean, that's me just as a viewer, but as someone who enjoys film, I can step back and go, wow, what a monumental film. There are great parts about this. I'm not saying like it's all right. Like I hated it. It's just, there were points where I'm just kind of like, how much time do we have left? Especially when like 60% of the film has no dialogue. Yeah. Something along those lines. So I have to say that has clouded my judgment on this. It has to have of seeing it. So, but again, I can kind of pull myself out of what my viewing experience was and appreciate it for what it actually is and what it gave us. So other than that, it still holds up. It still looks great. There are scenes in this film that are stunning still. Like even on a second watch, even seeing them all the time when when he's walking through, when the first time he suits up to go out and take out like the battery thing or whatever, and he walks through in the red suit with the lighted tunnel is just still gorgeous. It's just absolutely amazing. So, but I'm going to stop and let you jump in and tell me how terrible of a person I am.
No, no, the thing is, until very recently, I can't recollect actually having seen this start to finish. So it makes two of us, but I've seen sequences and scenes since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And they've stayed with me. Mm-hmm. The apes and the monolith and open the pod bay doors.
Yeah.
And the very, very end where he's seeing himself. Those are indelible memories that I have. Apparently probably seeing it on television, on cable. Parts of it just running. But as far as sitting down, beginning to end, I hadn't done it. And you're right, it does suffer from some of that, but I tried to watch it from the standpoint of this is the standard bearer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It truly is. And there are shots in this that I still can't quite wrap my head around how exactly it was pulled off. Probably my favorite shot is aboard the ship, the rotating section of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys get out and downscale a ladder sideways and then walk down and around. And I still can't wrap my head around the physics of what the set is doing there. I'm assuming it's rotating,
mm-hmm.
and I just can't see it. And because it's a fixed camera position, it's still mind blowing. And they do that several times to, and then just really simple stuff like the pen floating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like 68 and they're doing that, and she grabs the pen.
Yeah.
And it's basically flawless.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing, the funny thing that I thought that I popped into my head watching it was, I totally understand. I don't agree, but I totally understand, having watched it 68, why so many of the contingency of the moon landing deniers think that Kubrick was the one that NASA tapped to fake it.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. This is monumentally astounding model work, set design. I think this, I'd have to go back and watch, but I think this probably is the first like mainstream film where you have really key lighting elements built into the set design.
Mm-hmm.
And everything after it now copies that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you get to the end sequence, when he's in that kind of stately room, but it's lit from beneath, that's an aesthetic that you see all over the place now.
All the time.
And so when I look at it through that lens, I can really appreciate it. The pacing, though, is brutal. And I'm not quite figuring out like what Kubrick's methodology is for hanging on scenes and sequences for so dang long. The beginning is like 20 to 25 minutes with the apes.
Yeah.
And the modern viewers, like, I don't think I need 25 minutes of this to convey what you're conveying as far as them evolving and then learning how to use tools. And if you can get past that, the rest of it's pretty much watchable to me in 2025.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the barrier to entry, is that scene. It's important in the grand scheme of the plot, the narrative, but it's kind of a tough pill to swallow.
Well, and honestly, thinking about it, I feel like the modern day viewer, because we've had so many movies like this, because we've had so many story plot points like this, that we're able to pick up these changes or what the director's trying to get across faster than maybe an audience in 68. Now, I also know Stanley Kubrick, probably still went over, and audiences like, why are we still on there? And they probably didn't need 25. They may not, we could have picked it up in 5 to 10, what he was trying to get across, because of so many things that are emulating this that have gotten us to figure it out faster or know where the director is going. I do want to go back real quick. We talked about the pen. So I was reading an article about it, and apparently what they had taped it to a piece of glass, and then the glass was moving. And apparently just before the movie was started shooting, double-sided tape was created for the first time ever. And so it's basically just a piece of a pen on a piece of glass kind of moving around or doing our plexiglass or something like that. And then with double-sided tape, and she just flicks it up, just perfect. Brilliant. So
yeah,
the things that really make me excited are just all the space scenes are still just absolutely stunning. Yeah. Like you said, like when they're inside the spaceship or just flying through space or the outside of the ship or moving around, it just still looks fantastic. It's still just, there's got to be something about models or what they've done that there brings so much more weight and feels so much more real than any of the CGI stuff that I see today. There's something where I'm just like, oh, this is really happening, as opposed to, Mickey 17, when we just talked about where there's the spaceship in space. I'm like, no, that's not real, but when I see their spaceship, I'm like, that's real, even though obviously it's not. But
it's something to do with the light, because when you're doing a CG render, you're not just trying to do the shapes and the texture and then that texture's reflection and then your light source, and you're trying to get the computer to calculate all of that. And frankly, it takes an artist to like get that software to get you where a model, in this case, where a model's already going to get you, because as long as the model maker has added enough detail. And that's what they found on a movie like this. And that's certainly what I think Star Wars is definitely an evolution of this. The model work in Star Wars is quite a bit more complex in surface detail than this. But I mean, this predates it by 9 years. And you can see all of the legwork that Kubrick and his model makers and his cinematographer all did, that Lucas was able to stand on those shoulders like a decade later. And then, Ridley Scott just a few years later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this thing's just the gold standard to me. And you're right, the space stuff, the harsh light works with the models they've built, and it's all in camera, and yeah, it's going to hold up.
It's going to hold up, yeah.
There's some matte paintings here and there that kind of fall apart a little bit for me. I can see how matte work got a lot better in the 10 years. But there's that one shot that reminds me of the Death Star hangar scene. It feels like the same shot. When they come in, you can see little people working down below. I'm like, that's
the Death Star shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so much that this movie does right that it is easy to appreciate and respect what Kubrick and team were able to do and get his vision across. I will say though, having a black screen and music only for 3 minutes at the beginning of the film is a bold choice. Like, that's a really bold choice.
Well, and he does it again with an intermission too.
Yeah. But at least I could kind of understand that. But to open the film with three plus minutes of just music is like, holy.
Trying to get you in the mood, trying to set tone. But no, I did want to kind of shift the conversation to what I think is the strength of the film, which is how, especially in 2025.
Oh, especially.
The film is more relevant than it probably has ever been.
Yeah.
And now I came away from it. I thought this way before seeing sequences with Hal, and then having seen it in its entirety. I don't think HAL 9000 was like crazy or like even really malfunctioning. It feels like a programming error.
It just like he's programmed to protect himself, and he sees, something that's going to try to destroy him. And, he's there to protect the mission. He's programmed to protect himself, to protect the mission.
It feels like a big programming conflict by his imperfect designers, like an unforeseen conflict is what it kind of felt like. But that's still the strength. I think that's always been the strength of the movie, and now even more so with the proliferation of AI.
So there's a fun thing that I noticed this time watching, and I haven't read up about it. I don't know if it's just something I missed or talked about. So please, if you've read about it, but this is the first time I noticed that all of the little boxes that Hal lives in, where his eye is or whatever, the circle, if you actually look around it, it's an obelisk shaped black, basically like the black rectangle. Like, it's always a black rectangle, much like the obelisk.
The monolith?
The monolith. Sorry, the monolith, not the obelisk. Yeah, the monolith. So basically, it's just that black rectangle with his eye in the center of it. And so I was like, ooh. Obviously it's Stanley Kubrick. Like, there's some meaning behind that possibly, or some thought process of like maybe that. I know it's not in the direct correlation between you go from ape to spacefaring humans to then time and space, faring humans or whatever.
Right.
Like where does AI kind of fit in that? But it did notice like wherever he was at, it was a monolith, and then his little eye was in the center or in the top part.
To me, it seems AI feels like the flawed creation that that humanity is for real humanity is, and then humanity in the context of the film. But I did appreciate that when he gets into Hal's mainframe, that it's effectively solid state memory that he's popping out. The thing is, the movie's so far ahead. It's like my only gripe near the beginning when that original Doctor gets onto the space station and then on his way to the moon is the attire was still very 60s. Everything else was way ahead, but the hairstyles were still
very 60s,
and the clothing was very 60s. And it's interesting to me, if you go back to this era of sci-fi, even into the 70s, and Star Trek is probably the exception to this, but the handheld technology is like not really thought about. Even in a movie like this, there's not, like when they go to message home, it's a huge mainframe thing that he's got to like secure line into.
Yeah.
Versus like what has actually come to pass with the smartphone and, wearable technology, stuff like that. I kind of pick up on stuff like that. Like the futurism's like pretty good, but in some ways it's like it's hard to guess that something as large as a phone with a camera and a television monitor and stuff would fit in your palm
and in a pocket. Yeah. So I do love that. I had to think, I'm like, so is $1.70 for a 5-minute call or a 3-minute call or whatever in 1968? I'm assuming that's got to be absolutely outrageous.
It had to have been, right?
Yeah. It had to have been. Like, I mean, you wouldn't put that on there, because now I'm like, less than $2. I mean, like, I'm calling from the moon.
So
yeah, I do that.
Is the moon mission, is that 2001? And then we're in 2002 with
basically.
With Dave?
So
I was kind of curious how it lined up, but
so I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's like, so it's 2001 is the moon, and then they do the whole push forward. So technically it's 2002 is the
cool.
Is when he gets up, does everything with Hal.
And I love that Hal's like built in 92. I'm like, sorry, Stanley, we're like, scientists are like way off your timeline here.
Yeah, we're not.
Like,
we're not
his
there
expectations for where we would be from 68, which 30 some years, right? Like,
I still love the fact that he did all of this before we landed on the moon, like before we really were regularly like in space, or I guess we were still kind of in space.
We were still in space, yeah.
Yeah, but it was still like very, very new. It wasn't like, because they even talked about like we didn't really have great pictures of the Earth with like really good cameras or like with the eye, and so that's why all the Earth looks like it has this blue film, because they thought that you couldn't really see through the atmosphere like you can, and so it's like. Like,
still
and
holds up
didn't
pretty
have
well,
that.
though.
Yeah, it still looks great, and but that's why it doesn't look like the Earth rising over, like when the Earth rising from the moon. It looks kind of this blue ball, because that's what they thought you would see, and not actually the
continents and stuff,
the continents and the ocean and stuff like that. And so, and you really wouldn't get that until you had people really on the moon, kind of seeing it, going, oh no, I can.
Oh yeah,
this is what the Earth looks like, and. Yeah, so I think that's crazy that he's doing all this and really doesn't have a lot to pull from. Like, so many things, movies nowadays have NASA photos and all the information that we have that we can make it, far more realistic, or what it looks like, or at least build from, where he was just like, okay, that's what I'm thinking. So this is what people are saying, so we do this.
I was even now utterly blown away with the effect when Dave's approaching the last monolith that's near Jupiter,
and
you have that kind of almost like a a tie-dye effect rushing past on two planes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Two focal planes basically coming at you. That stuff still holds up really well. And everything's got that organic feel to it because it's just so it reminds me visually, it reminds me of like acoustically stuff that the Beatles were doing in the mid to late 60s that is still like, it's like, how did they do that with analog gear?
Yeah.
That's what this movie feels like. It's like, it feels like peak analog until Nolan comes on the scene and kind of stands on his shoulders in a lot of ways with certain things. And yeah, this definitely, I knew Interstellar was a spiritual successor to this, even though I had not seen this in its entirety.
Yeah.
But the parallels are unmistakable.
Yeah. That was also one of the things I felt took a little bit longer than expected was the color when he was going through the portal or whatever through the monolith. And I was like, we could have sped this up. Well, I'm sure the people who were taking LSD loved it, and drugs. That's what my dad would say. It was like people who would come in and take drugs and go watch this movie and get to that part. They're like, it is so amazing.
I did think that like the color, they had done like inverted negative stuff with like a planet flyover. That stuff took way too long to me. But once he's actually with where the tie-dye's kind of coming through, that stuff was really interesting to look at. It did go on for a long time, but it was just a little more attention grabbing. No, I appreciate Kubrick for his interpretive nature to his movies. That things are not tied up with a nice, neat little bow.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of been a complaint some have had with Spielberg. Is that most Spielberg movies are kind of have a nice packaged, kind of taut ending. I would never. To me, it's a matter of preference, but I do like the open-ended nature of a lot of Kubrick's movies, and
well, I like both. I mean, there's times when I like that it's all wrapped up and feel good, or like the end of Jurassic Park, where I'm like, just done. Like I can push that aside. I get to think about other things than just what happened. And then I have movies like this or like Inception, where it's like, oh, what do I think happened? Because now I have to process because I didn't get that set ending. And so it can kind of pushes you into continue to thinking more about, okay, what's going on? So musically, I love this film. This is fantastic. I mean, obviously this is one of the reasons why Star Wars went with an orchestral score, because of this film. And I'm going to give a shout out to Adam, whose YouTube channel, Entertaining the Elk. He has a video that he talks about this, because actually, apparently they contracted a guy to write the score for this film. And I forget exactly, but I think it was Kubrick had fought with the studio because he wanted to use these pieces. It was either that, or it was while the guy was writing the score, Kubrick put these pieces in and then just fell in love with them and was just like, no, I'm keeping these, and like told the orchestral guy, the sound guy, to go like, no, we're not using your stuff. And like no one knew about it for years, like decades. And like apparently some guy had the recordings of all of this, all of these, the soundtrack, and then released it. And it's really good. Like, there's some really good pieces, but it's not 2001. Cause obviously we're all so used to now, Flight of the Valkyries, or not Flight of the Valkyries. Anyways, it doesn't matter. All these actual classical pieces that are in place, like this is what it is. But he does a really cool deep dive, and so I really liked it. But it was interesting to have this, because most of the science fiction before this was more for kids, or didn't have this kind of orchestral music, or really didn't focus on making it an interesting, well-developed film. It was just kind of, it was Flash Gordon, those kind of stuff. It was not this high caliber. And so it's really interesting to kind of see some of the stuff that Kubrick brought to the genre that has, gone on and surpassed him and is now just the normal part of our sci-fi movies.
You make an interesting point with the tone of the movie. Like, there's not like a super adult sci-fi piece that really predates this. Mm-mm. Everything was like alien invasions and more adventure, kind of swashbuckler, basically pirates in space kind of stuff.
Or even it was like some like kind of crazy low budget horror flick thing. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is like maybe the day the Earth stood still.
Yeah, that's
kind of a scenario, but right. I mean that's a pretty decent different time frame kind of a thing. But
or it borders on horror.
Yeah.
The Mars invader.
Yeah. Mars attacks and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, and the other one that started off as the radio.
Oh, I can't think of it at the moment, but no.
Yeah. So yeah, this was like definitely a different direction from what predates it in this genre. And opened the door for Star Wars and then all of the more serious sci-fi that we get in the late 70s with Alien and Blade Runner and then the Terminator and like it just the Terminator is kind of more on the horror end, but I think it intimidated a lot of filmmakers too, because it's like, do you really want to play in this space when this is the
standard bearer
sitting there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had to change it. I mean, obviously, even Star Wars is not. It becomes much more of like a space fantasy film than it does.
It's actually a Western, but that's what makes it work so well.
Yeah,
it's a totally different genre in space, but
he pulls a lot from 2001 to make it
aesthetically, absolutely, yeah.
Well, and like I said, the orchestral score, the stuff to bring it out of being just a kid's movie. I mean, you change a couple of things about Star Wars and doesn't have the fandom. It doesn't have the love affair that people have for it now. Like there's so much that 2001 brought that George Lucas stole and put into his film that made it this gargantuan, universe.
It's like a mirror image because you've got Hal on one end as this dark, twisted AI, and then with Star Wars you've got the buddy duo, both autonomous robots that are hilarious, comic relief. It's like it just turned it on its head. But this demands to be viewed, even if people have got to kind of slog through some sections of it just to understand how early this stuff was accomplished. Like it, I'm still just baffled by some camera angles and set rotation. I still don't quite understand what I'm seeing. Climbing down the ladder sideways and then stepping off and walking down around. I have to think the whole thing was
kind of like they did with
gimbal,
like they did with the stewardess, and when she did kind of like the full circle, like the whole thing rotates and she just basically stood in place.
They do that twice because the two astronauts climb out that way too. It's like, of course it's completely unnecessary in 0G to do that, but if you're wearing Velcro shoes, I guess you can get away with it.
But no.
I love that it was like on the side of the shoe.
Oh, that's another thing. I love the fact that Kubrick at least got one thing right about the future, is that anything that happens gets taken over by corporations. Like, because like the moon base, it was like, you had a Hilton, you got a Howard Johnson. Yeah. Obviously, I think it was like, I forget who the phone company was that did it. But like, they just invade the space. They just, they find a niche. Oh, hey, look, I can make a ton of money off of this. Done.
Well, I love the just guy take with over. The giant tray with like 12 straws in it, which is spot on. I mean, that's all the NASA foods in bags with straws. You basically heat it up and slurp it out. But
why not?
Yeah. No, it's
so basically corporations are going to invade everything.
They do.
I just take away from this. Yep.
They absolutely do. Yeah. Remember Blade Runner? even further ahead in the future than this, and apparently Atari was successful. I always love that when it flies by and Atari's like doing well.
Yeah.
In 2019?
No, yeah, 2019. Yeah. Yep. I don't have much else, good sir. I mean, outside of it, for watching it, it definitely, like I said, it is not amazing. Is not the right word. Like as just a viewer, just watching a film, that doesn't hold up. It's a little, like you said, the pacing is slow, those kind of things. But realizing of how far back this goes, it is a stunning, stunning film. So, and they only did it for like $12 million. So, which is ridiculous.
What would that be now? Maybe 60 or 80 or something. But what I was going to say is I'm glad this is the one we kind of started off with because of how much of the aesthetic it establishes for what comes later.
Let's see. I'm doing the
inflation calculator.
The inflation calculator. Oh, let's see. $12 million today. Okay, maybe I did this backwards. There we go. I missed one. It would be $111 million.
Okay.
Would be the budget for this. So basically about 10 times what it is from 1968, roughly. So, yeah. So, and then it made $67 million, $68 million. Yeah.
Wow.
So, you did more than made up for its budget. But for
so
something like
this,
$600
or $700 million, sci-fi film today,
yeah,
no,
not bad,
massive success, yeah. And Kubrick didn't matter the genre; he just crushed it. Whatever he played, whatever space he decided to obsessively occupy at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still recalling the Matt Damon story about The Shining, about him building a little model of the Overlook and then lighting it with those little lights he had, taking photos, making the guy go develop the photos, bringing them back, looking at them, and then tweaking the light again and doing it all over again so that when they went to location, it would look exactly like his photo. That's how obsessive he was.
I mean, he's an auteur, there's there's good and bad you get from that.
Miserable to work with, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just destroyed his actors. Just ran through them like he was like the Bobby Knight of filmmaking.
That's fair.
Most of our listeners will have no idea who I'm talking about, but I'm not gonna expound on that. You can look up who that is or was, but yeah. But the results kind of speak for themselves. So
yeah. I mean, there's a reason why this is still considered one of the top films of all time, and also why it's the one that we led off with in our season of sci-fi. So,
well, yeah, I don't have anything else to add. And
I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. You can just appreciate some of the camera work. I mean, he has a really high aspect ratio as well. It looks gorgeous. There's some stuff that gets stolen, and just when you watch it, just realize this is the first time the majority of the stuff that you're seeing on screen is happening, and everything that comes after this is stealing from this movie.
That's what's important.
So,
yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, so
well, I appreciate everybody listening. Yeah. We'll be back here with entry number 2 in season of Sci-Fi, which I believe is E.T.
It is.
So, E.T. revisited. So go from 2001 to E.T. That's an interesting transition, but
that is.
Hey,
thanks everybody.